I'm honored today to introduce Chief Mark Mayberry to the club. I've known Mark now for going on 13 years. I was honored to serve on the police commission when Northwest Regional hired Mark as the chief. And Mark has served our region, protected and served our region very faithfully for a number of years. Prior to Northwest Regional, you were with Mount Joy Township.
Weston.
You were with Weston, that's right. So I'm glad to introduce him now today, Chief Mark Mayberry.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the invitation to be here. But I got to admit, when I do get these invitations, I struggle sometimes to think, like, what am I going to talk about? So the last time, it was an evening meeting I was at, and we talked about the police department in general. Everybody knows that, well, just to give you a little background, we serve West Donegal and Mount Joy Township. We have 20 full-time officers with our department. But, and I'm sure in your day-to-day activities, just like you did, where you see an officer sitting along the road running speed enforcement or responding to a crash or something like that, we all see those kind of activities. But I want to give you a little background on what some of the officers within our department, their certifications and their qualifications and some of the things that they're involved in. And some of the equipment that our police department has, it's not just restricted to our department. Some of the stuff other agencies in the county may have, but some of the stuff is pretty much unique to our department and what we have. So to start off is the county has what you guys would traditionally know as a SWAT team. It's called a CERT team in the county, Special Emergency Response Team. That is a county formed team, and our police department has 2 officers that are assigned to the county SWAT team. So those officers get to train. They train twice a month, and they respond to any kind of like an incident where we would have in the county where we might need a special emergency response team. So that could be a high-risk warrants or a barricaded gunman. If we have a barricade situation and we have somebody that took a hostage, has a firearm inside a house, won't come out, we would set up a perimeter and call the CERT team to come out. So we do have 2 officers that are assigned to the county SWAT team, CERT team. We also have a drone. We have 2 drones in our department, and we've had these drones for the last couple of years. We have 3 officers in our department that are drone certified. So they have gone through the certification. It's almost like a pilot's license, I guess, to fly these drones. These drones have been really big assets for our department. Recently, we got a grant, or actually we got funding from Waste Management to purchase a really advanced drone. It was like almost a $15,000 drone. And they've been a valuable tool for our department. Just to give you, just 2 nights ago, in the southern end of the county, state police were involved in a pursuit. The guy was wanted on several different charges. He ended up bailing from his vehicle and running into a cornfield. So the state police and local police down there set up a perimeter, and they called for a drone. They needed a drone. And our officer Chris Good from our department, responded the whole way down there to the southern end of the county. Got there, put the drone up in the air, and I think they did a drone demonstration. Yeah. So he put the drone up in the air, and in less than 5 minutes, he found the guy in the cornfield and was able to have state police go in there. The guy was a drug user. He had ingested a large amount of drugs. He was unconscious in the field. If they would not have found him, they'd have found him at harvest time when they, so he would have died. So they took him into custody, got into the treatment in the hospital. So that's just one incident where the drone has helped. And that's just probably 2 nights ago where they had that drone. We also have an officer who's a drug recognition officer. He's certified. There's only a few in the state that are certified as a drug recognition officer. And what that officer does is, everybody knows what a DUI is, driving under the influence of alcohol. These are driving under the influence of drugs. So if one of our officers or any officer in the county stops stops a person and he believes he's under the influence of some type of illegal drug, he can call a drug recognition officer to come there. That officer will do pretty much an evaluation medically and also put him through some coordination tests, and he'll be able to tell that officer, hey, this is what you need to test for. When you take this officer or take this suspect to the hospital and they draw blood, these are the certain things that you want the blood to be tested for, whether it be heroin, meth, or some type of prescription medication or something like that. So we do have an officer that's certified drug recognition expert. We currently have 4 officers that are certified as on the crash team. And the crash team, we handle crashes every day. Unfortunately, we handle crashes every day. But we do have serious fatal accidents or accidents involving serious injury. And those kind of accidents will end up activating the crash team. So we have 4 officers that are part of the crash team, and that's a county. Well, it's the Northwest Crash Team. So, and that's officers from, could be Susquehanna Regional, Elizabethtown Borough, Manheim Borough, and they will come out and they'll do a full reconstruction of the accident. So, unfortunately, we just recently had a fatal accident on Mount Cretton Road just over the weekend, and they activated the crash team, and the crash team will come out and do the reconstruction of the crash. So we do have a couple of 4 officers are assigned to that. We also have an officer that's assigned to the county drug task force. That officer is a police officer with our department, but he works with the county drug task force. So that's a nice resource to have. So when we get an incident where, we have drug activity coming from a particular house or something like that, we can contact this officer, and then he has the resources of the county drug task force to help investigate whatever might be going on. So it's been a great tool for the police department to have that. We also have an officer that's certified in MIXAP. It's a commercial motor vehicle inspection. So he's a motor carrier safety assistance program. So that officer, we have a pickup truck that's fully equipped. It has scales in it. That officer will go out if you have a commercial motor vehicle accident and you need the vehicle inspected to make sure the brakes are in compliance and everything like that. This officer is certified to do that. So he's also part of the crash team. So if you have an accident, a fatal accident involving a commercial motor vehicle, they'll impound that vehicle. He can do a full inspection of that vehicle to make sure that the brakes and everything else is in compliance. So we do have one officer there. We also have a canine officer. I'm sure you're aware of that. He's probably been to your meetings. Officer Tyler Seidel and his canine partner Arlo. Been with our department since 2018. He's certified in narcotics detection and tracking. So that's been a great tool for our department. He also goes to 2 trainings a month to keep his dog certified and himself certified. We have an officer assigned to the county human trafficking task force. So they are involved in doing, they'll do like sting operations at motels where I'm not up on it. I'm sure you guys are not, like the dark web, where people go on the dark web and they'll, solicit to meet underage girls or something like that. These officers are assigned to the human trafficking task force. They'll set up some type of operation in a motel and see how many people that are on the dark web trying to meet up with underage females or people involved in any like human trafficking events. So we do have an officer assigned to that. We have an officer assigned to the computer crimes task force. So that's he's assigned. That's really your like child pornography officers. Somebody that's getting child porn to their house, we get notified that they are getting a child porn, and then they'll end up getting a search warrant for the house, go in and seize all their computer equipment and everything else. So these are resources that for a department of 20 people, we don't have. It's tough for us to have guys like that. So we're dependent on the county to have those resources, and the county's dependent on police departments to provide guys for those department, those kind of entities. So it's nice that we can have an officer on there. Also, the forensic certified officers. So if we have a major crime scene, we have officers that can come out and lift fingerprints, collect blood samples, anything like that, hair samples and stuff. So we have officers that are skilled and trained in that. All of our officers are certified to operate a data master, and that's a breath testing instrument. So if somebody's arrested for DUI, they can take that person to Elizabethtown Borough that has a breath testing instrument, and our station has a breath testing instrument, and run the breath testing. We don't have to call somebody else to come in. If it's a blood test, then we will take them to Hershey Med, and a certified phlebotomist will draw blood samples for us. All our officers are speed timing device certified. So, and just to give you a little background, we are not pulling anybody over for 5 miles over the speed limit. If I was following you and you're going 5 over, I would probably be like, oh my God, this guy, please, we got to get going. But anyhow, we're not pulling anybody over for 5 over.
What's the number?
No, actually by law, we have to give you at least 10 over the speed limit. So really, I'm not divulging any secrets. We usually stop at 15 over. Most police departments are stopping at 53 and a 35. You're going to get pulled over if they're setting them. But it's usually 15 over. This time of year, we get so many complaints of speeding on certain roads. And if we set up a detail, we might start stopping people at 13 over just because, people are complaining, and we might want to just get, and doesn't mean you're going to get a ticket at 13 over. We just might want to have, the residents see us out there running and have other motorists be aware that we're out there. Our department has 5 certified firearms instructors. We also have 2 officers that are certified to do defensive tactic instructors. We have 4 certified active shooter instructors. So they're certified to teach active shooters, school shootings, and stuff like that. We have 2 taser instructors, and we have 1 officer that's certified in doing child safety seats. So, if you ever put one of them in, that's kind of complicated. Like, do I hook it here or what do I hook it at? But if you buy a child safety seat, you want to contact our department, you bring it out there, they'll make sure that it's installed properly, and that they'll check and make sure there's no recalls on the child safety seats. Another thing our department is very fortunate to have is we have 4 cars that are equipped with license plate readers. If you ever see any of our cars, the 4 cars that have them, they're mounted on the trunk and then one up front. And these license plate readers, as you're driving by, they're driving by a parking lot or on the road, it's capturing license plates, and it's running that license plate to see if it's suspended, insurance cancellation. The driver might be suspended, but it's a valuable tool. And just to give you a little background on this, I know you guys all think it's Montgomery Township, E-Town Borough, West Donegal, nothing really happens here. I mean, we're good. But a couple weeks ago, we had a home invasion robbery in Reams, where the guy they broke into his house, they stole several $1,000s from him. These individuals, if anybody looks at Lancaster online, did you see the state police trooper that was shot? The guy that shot him did our home invasion robbery. So they did a robbery here, home invasion robbery. They did one in the southern end of Lancaster County, and they did one in East Hempfield. Our Officer Aaron McCoy, was really instrumental in putting that together. When the home invasion robbery happened in the southern end, they had surveillance video, and it matched what our victim was telling us. So he went in and then looked at the license plate reader for that car. East Hempfield has a license plate reader, and it hit on that car 3 minutes after the home invasion robbery happened in East Hempfield. So they put all that information together, and the state police ultimately took it. They had the more resources, and they called in their SWAT team to hit these storage units and some of the houses. And the subject shot from inside the storage unit several times and hit the state police trooper in the arm. But our officer was down there that morning because they were hoping he wasn't going to shoot. They were going to take him into custody and then interview him and then try to develop more information. But that was just one instance where that license plate reader has helped, in a situation like not just, the traffic aspect of it, but as far as a criminal investigation, what that license plate reader did as far as putting that subject in that proximity when that other home invasion occurred. So that's kind of an overview of what our department's all about. Some of the certifications our officers have and some of the capabilities our department has. If you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Try.
I want to say a little bit about National Night Out.
Oh, yes. National Night Out. National Night Out is the first Tuesday of August. And we started National Night Out. We didn't start it, but we started participating with National Night Out back in 2012. And we held it for several years over at West Donegal Township. And it has grown, honestly, it's like gotten really big. It's a lot of work and I don't have anything to do with it, honestly. But our officers and our administrative staff put a lot of work into it. And it's a 3-hour event. And it goes from 6 until 9 o'clock at Montgomery Township Municipal Complex. But it's a great chance to meet first responders. There's other community partners there. But this thing has gotten so big. There's fireworks at the end of the event. And if you guys have any contacts with Mother Nature, just hope that you can put a good word in for her for that night. And we don't have any rain. But it's a great event. If you're available, come on out. Bring your family out. Bring your kids out. There's fireworks at the end of the event. So it's a really good event. And we couldn't pull it off without the support of our local partners, our township staff. Our road department helps out. So it's been a big event. And also, what the Tatted Toy guys are big. They help out a lot. They get us a stage out there. So it's a really good event.
What's your feeling about the non-lethal guns that are out now, the burners and that kind of stuff. Are you running into them at all?
The ghost guns?
No, they're non-lethal. They look like a gun, but
Oh.
like a sandbag pellet or something.
Yeah, I honestly.
They're selling them for people for home defense instead of having a gun.
Okay. Wow.
They're selling big time.
Are they?
Are you seeing them here at all?
No.
Like, what is the biggest brand? They sold names of them.
I did see something online with one of them, and I think it was that manufacturer actually. It was just like a short reel or something I saw, and I actually wanted to go look at it, but listen, I'm not using a less lethal at my house if somebody comes in.
It's controversial a little bit because you don't have to have a license, you don't need to buy one, you just order online.
Yeah.
But it still looks like a gun.
Right. We have not ran into them, and there's a lot of less lethal out there, like taser. Our officers carry taser. There's a less lethal, or there is a taser for the civilian market, where if you're in a situation and you hit somebody with a taser, you're supposed to drop it and then just run from the scene and get away. I don't know anything about that. I'm sorry, I don't.
What's your official position to the relationship to Masonic Village?
What's our position there as far as enforcement out there?
We have security people.
Right. Yeah. So Masonic Village security pretty much takes care of anything that happens out there, unless it rises to the point where they can't do anything with it or it's out of their authority. So, and I honestly can't answer. Like, I don't know what they really do out there. I can tell you what we've done out there. If there's a crash out there on Masonic Village property, our officers respond out there. If there is, I don't want to say this. Like, if something happens with a resident out there where they think that a healthcare professional has done something that wasn't legal, that we get involved in that. So there could be domestic situations out there at Masonic Village with the residents. We get involved with that. But I mean, our calls for service out of Masonic Village aren't a lot, but we do get called out there. But security pretty much, I'm sure security takes care of a lot of things out there that we don't have any involvement in.
You mentioned Arlo. Did you say he was commissioned in 2018?
That's when we got him in 2018.
So this came up in a conversation earlier, not here, about what is the active lifespan
Yeah.
of a dog? He's got to be reaching.
Yeah, I think Arlo was about a year when we got him. Maybe a year and a half when we got him. He was one of the older dogs. When I say older, he was one of the older dogs that we looked at. Some of the other dogs might have been like 6, 8 months, 10 months. Arlo had a little bit more age on them when we got him. Usually it's about 10 years. And I think it really depends on the dog and, their health and everything else. But I think generally speaking, from some of my other friends that are canine handlers, I think about 10 years,
It just seems like yesterday that you got him and you said 2018. I'm like, wow, so he's been in service for 6 years now. And he does a great job with us, but I know Officer Seidel thinks, like it could be in the next couple of years because he's like, he's slowing down. Well, we're all slowing down, so we'll see how that all plays out. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention, so we enjoy hosting Students of the Month here, and I just wanted to share that Mark's daughter was a Student of the Month at Huddletown Club this spring.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. She's a great kid. I'm trying to get her in the Air Force, and she's actually trying to get in the Air Force, but I was telling Dennis earlier, I never thought that trying to get somebody in the Air Force was going to be so difficult. I mean, it's just the whole process. It's different than when I was in the Air Force. I know that. It just pretty much went in. It's now you got to come up with 9 jobs that you want to do, and there has to be availability of those jobs. And I'm pretty sure if I took her to the Army recruiter or Marine Corps recruiter, I could get her shipped out this week. But she doesn't want to do that. She wants to stick with the Air Force. But thank you for saying that, though.
Mark, can you explain that as a department, we don't have speeding ticket quotas? Everybody.
We don't? No. We don't. We don't.
And it really doesn't add much to our bottom line.
Right.
You always see that on Facebook. oh, they're out there, oh, they must not have met their quota this month.
I know.
Where are
We don't have quotas. We don't. Actually, a guy emailed me from out in Westwood Road in West Island. He was like, "Have you come out here and set up? You guys will get your quota in no time." And I was like, "Well, you know," but we have no quotas. And actually, honestly, you know, when I started here, I've been on the job since 1990. And if you guys have lived in E-Town, I've worked in it. This town has changed a lot. Like honestly, and I'm not going to lie to you. Like I could meet an E-Town officer at Willow Woods, and we could sit at Willow Woods Swim Club and talk for a half hour or an hour or so, and never get a call. You know, during that time. Nowadays, you can meet up with an officer, and it's not if it's not us, it's them or something. You're not there. You know, very very short time, and somebody's getting a call. This area has changed so much. The call volume has changed so much over the last several years. So I would love for us to be able to do more traffic enforcement. It's just hard for us to do traffic enforcement because, and I'm not making a pitch for radar because I've heard that we were going to get radar since I started in 1990. And here we are in 2024 and we still don't have radar. But it makes it hard for us to do traffic enforcement. And I don't know how they stopped you today. We have to set up 2 reference points on the road. If you see 2 lines painted on the road, that's what we're using. And we're,
before you get to the first one.
yeah, exactly. We're really hit on the brakes between that first and second one. But that's what we're using 2 reference points and we're timing you between those 2 reference points. We can also use what they call a wireless NRAD. Our agency has a wireless NRAD. It's two units set up on each side of the road. And there's a beam that shoots across the road and that captures a speed. But to be honest with you, it's a pain to set up. You can set that up and then, you know, within the next couple of minutes, you get a call for service. So you got to take it all down and go. We set that up. Our Sergeant Mike Bryant, does a lot of traffic enforcement. And I'm not picking on West Donegal because something's happened over there. But we had that set up on Stone Mill Drive. A car went through. He clocked the car. He went out, pulled that car over. And by the time he got back, somebody stole the part of the unit. So now that unit's no good to us. And you couldn't get another unit. Luckily, E-Town had one that they don't use, so we ended up getting theirs. But if we would lose that unit or half, it happens already where we sat and watched somebody pick it up and thought it was scrap metal along the road. So, you know, it's one of those things. We don't like to set that up unless we have at least a couple officers, one to actually sit and watch the unit while the other people are pulling some. I don't either. Yeah. We have a speed sign you go by, it tells you what your speed is. We had it in West Donegal. In a residential development, somebody took it down, smashed it. So that was down in, no, not Stone. Down there in, off of Reams, down there in like Meadow and down there. So it's just, it's short, but we don't have quotas. We do like to write tickets because, like I said, this time of year, it's honestly, once a week, somebody will call me and tell me or send me an email. Hey, they're speeding on Anchor Road. They're speeding on, you know, Mount Pleasant Road. You know, and I get it. You know, the road I live on, there's going to be somebody speeding down the road. Most of the people are good. But you know, there's always that 1 or 2 that fly by you. Yes, sir.
So in our company, all of our trucks have cameras in the front. I don't have them in the back, but I got them in the front. And it's not every day, but it's weekly. My guys will come back and say, hey, at 12:12, look at my camera because you're not going to believe what we're going to see. And it's always on 283, you know, the guy's just changing lanes, flying through. So I've struggled with this a little bit with the state police, but if you capture that in your jurisdiction, is that enough to arrest somebody?
Well, first,
Capture it and give it to you.
okay, one we would need to be able to identify the driver.
Right.
So we, you know,
Well, so you not just
right. We need to be able to identify the driver. And honestly, we cover 283. We have an agreement with the state police. We cover 283. But I'll be honest with you, that's a monster out there. You know, I mean, we could honestly, you know, well, yeah, but we could honestly have an officer out there on 283 all day long, because it's constantly a reckless driver, disabled vehicles, or an accident out there. It's just always something out there on 283. And you know, if you're doing 5 over out there, yeah, right. It's Yeah, 283 is a monster. But to answer your question, for one, I think camera systems it's great because, our officers, all of our cars are equipped with cameras. All our officers are carrying body cameras. So it's been a great resource to have. There's a little pushback in the beginning. They didn't want cameras, they thought, but there's nothing better when somebody calls and makes a complaint and then you go and look at the camera and you're like, didn't happen the way you think it happened.
You'll never capture the driver. You capture the car flying by you and doing something reckless.
Right.
The only thing that the state police have ever asked for is if that car that causes an accident ahead of you, then that's more proof that that car was doing something bad.
Absolutely.
You still can't send in that footage to the state police or say arrest this guy.
Yeah, I mean, any camera footage is great footage for us at times. We had a serious accident down here in front of McDonald's. A girl on one of these electric e-bikes was coming down the hill. Car was making a left turn, coming from Mount Joy area, head towards E-Town, making a left into the giant McDonald's. She gets the arrow, starts making the turn. The girl on the e-bike slams into the side of her. So pretty serious crash. And they called out the crash team for that one, but last I heard, she's going to make it. But the camera footage from the McDonald's was able to, help build the kit, yeah, because, that's the first thing you worry about as a driver. You're like, oh my God, did I do something wrong? So it helps, any kind of, if there's going to be any type of civil litigation, that camera footage is out there, that you have it. So cameras have been a great asset for us.
What he just described with the McDonald's is proof that Facebook is not right. They had her dead that night on scene. So she is still alive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Don't
seriously injured.
follow Facebook for your. Don't go to Facebook for your local news.
I got a ticket on the turnpike for construction zone. And all they have is a picture of my license plate.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's certain states that are allowed to do it. And I don't know if Pennsylvania, it is Pennsylvania. And I don't, that's probably the state police, and that's a whole different animal. So we don't have those capabilities. And I don't know. I know, yeah, I've gone through those camera systems already too. Like down in Maryland, I've got them.
I got one down there. But it was a cheat. It was a $15 fine for misusing natural resources.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Yeah.
I was going too fast, so I was burning too much fuel. And yeah, it's a really cheap car. And there's no points, but yeah, I was in Frederick, Maryland, and I rolled through one of the construction zones, and it was right at the beginning, and where it says goes to 50, I went through at 55, and the camera flashed. It was at night, the camera flashed. What was that? And then a couple days later in the mail, I got a ticket.
Yeah, I mean, any of them, we get those aggressive driving complaints, but we need to be able to identify who the driver is. And if you're the victim or you're the complainant, it comes to us, you're going to need to be able to identify the person who was driving that did the violations. So
I think Tim Hawk should describe his speeding tickets that he got and how he terrorized his children.
Yeah, I got one similar to Kevin's story. I was on 743 coming into town, and I was going 60 into 55. I had my cruise set at 60, taking my kids home from gymnastics, and it goes down from 55 to 45. So I just canceled my cruise and coasted, and I got stopped right there, right before the 283 bridge. And I called Duper. I was like, "Hey, can you help me get out of this?" I said, "I'm too pretty to go to jail." I sent my wife a picture of the red and blue lights behind us with the kids in the back seat, and put the window down and say hi to the officer girls. And they were like, "Oh my God," they were so worried. I was like, "It's not that."
yeah.
He calls me, he says, I had my kids convinced I'm going to jail. This Officer Robbie got him.
Oh, that's been a long time ago. That's been a while ago. Yes, sir.
Any blowback or anything about what happened out in Butler, is that going to affect you all in any way?
Not unless Trump comes to E-Town. No, nothing like that. No. Nope. I mean, that's being handled.
I'm not sure when it is. It's going to be a big rally down in Lancaster. Will that?
No, we won't have any.
Okay, well, they've all got to be inside.
The only thing we got involved in was Vice President Joe Biden came down to Millersville, and that's been a while. We had to close all the on and off ramps while she came down 283.
That was interesting. I was on 283 heading towards Harrisburg, so that was all happening on the other side, and 15, 20 cars
Yeah.
through.
Right.
And I had gotten on the Manheim Mount Joy Road coming from Manheim, and I saw that there was a police officer on the other side of the bridge there, and I was heading towards Reams, and I thought, oh, it must be an accident, you know. And then I see a car speeding up, and I think, oh, that must have been a really bad accident. Then I get to the Reams exit, and there was 20 cars, 20 lights, motorcycles, all the lights going on, and they obviously had stopped anyone getting on 283. That's unbelievable. Just
I know.
has to be done.
I know.
For these people to move.
Yeah, and usually, and if they manpower allows, they want the overpasses closed down too. But we didn't do all that. Not for we just didn't have that. And they only wanted it if we had the manpower. And it was a weekend. They said it took longer to do all that than the time she was at Millersville and get her back to Harrisburg. So. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.